The second thing for me is social media. So I know I'm a young guy, but I honestly hate social media so much. I was not on any social media platform until January 2021.
Okay.
I avoided it for as long as possible, and I'm like, oh, if I'm going to be an author, I guess I should do this. Because I know some people are like, oh, you don't need social media. You can still be successful with your book. But it's unlikely. And one of the biggest ways that you're going to be discovered is on social media because there are so many eyes on the different platforms. And if you're not going to be on social media, you're missing out on a huge way that you could be discovered.
I'm so excited to have my friend Caleb here with me today to talk about all things fiction and business. Thank you, Caleb, for joining us.
Yeah, of course. Happy to be here.
Well, let's start off with probably my most pressing question, and that is how in the world did you rank as number one on bestseller on Amazon? Like, you published this book,
Right.
you went with a small traditional publisher. How did you guys manage to hit that number one ranking? What went into that?
Yeah. So, for one, I went through an independent publisher where they helped me with all the stuff but the marketing. So that
Okay.
really was just me doing everything I could to get the book successful and still doing everything I can to get the book successful. One of the reasons I'm doing podcasts
Right?
and joining you today. But really the big thing for my launch day and ranking number one in Christian fantasy on Amazon was nothing about my launch went how I'd planned.
Yeah.
And what I want to encourage you guys with is there's no such thing as a perfect launch because it's a myth. It doesn't happen. You can be the most thoughtful, most well planned out and organized person ever, and something is going to go wrong. And that's just how the world works.
Yep.
For me, my my independent publisher kind of does things a bit weird, and they don't do like pre-sales,
Okay.
and they also don't uh they don't have like the whole build up thing where you do pre-sales and I get a bunch of copies of the book to like find influencers and things like that to read it, to get the reviews. No, I don't get the book until the book is released. So I
Okay.
had like the advanced copy and I had one of those and that was it.
Oh
Um,
boy. Okay.
which made it a little difficult because I was like trying to figure out all of these perfect launch strategies.
Right.
And
And all
I
the
was like, that's,
traditional
yeah,
traditional what you call it, like strategies
right.
probably didn't go into effect for you because you didn't
Yeah.
have the book in hand to do any of that.
Right. And so I could send out like the advanced reader copy, but that was about it. Um, and then on top of that, the book it was supposed to be released on February, I think it was 19th, and ended up getting released almost a whole month earlier.
What? Were you aware that was gonna happen?
Um, sort of, but
Okay.
there was a bit of a miscommunication, but either way, it was like I wanted my launch to be on the February 19th, and then we had to launch it early because so I could get the books, but it was
Mm.
like released on Amazon and all of the stuff. So like it was an officially launched book. Um, and I remember I was sitting with my family at lunch and I got the email and I'm like, what?
Oh my gosh. You're like, what do I do now?
Right. So that was a bit chaotic. And the great thing is I had just formed my lunch team. And so I was like, we were planning on doing some pre-launch stuff. And I'm like, hey guys, guess what? The book is out.
It's go time.
Right. It's go time. So that was an interesting challenge. And basically the whole next week was a lot of chaos. And another thing about launching is that it really does take a lot of time. And so if you know that your book is going to launch on this date, set aside a week.
Yeah.
Honestly, if you can set aside a week and just do book launch stuff all of that
Mhm.
week,
Right.
that's going to be incredibly helpful because you can take care of all of the things and some stuff you can't do until the book is out. Like you can't
Mm.
really update your website or tell people the book is out until the book is actually out.
Right. Right.
And so that was chaotic, but really the way that I was able to still be successful with the book launch and rank in number one in Christian fantasy on Amazon was two factors. One, know your audience, be in that niche audience. And so because I knew my audience, I knew what my book was and who it was for, and I knew what genre fit with that, I could be in this very narrow, specific audience of Christian fantasy.
Mhm.
And because of that, I had less competition, which
Okay.
is a nice thing.
Yeah.
Um, I
It
won't, I
helps.
certainly
Like
won't complain about that. So that was one area that helped. The other thing that really helped was almost the opposite of know your audience, which sounds controversial, but it's okay to ask friends and family for help.
yes. Yes.
I have lots of friends and family and people in my church, most of which are not in my ideal reader, ideal audience
And they
group.
probably won't even read your book,
Right.
but
Some
they
of
can
them
still
will, some of
support
you won't,
you.
but they'll still support, and a lot of them will still buy it, even if
Mhm.
it's not for them,
Mhm.
because they want to support you.
Right.
And so what I had to do was say, I'm going to be humble enough to ask for help. I'm going to be humble enough to not say, hey, this is my book and only the people that it's for should buy it. No,
Mhm.
I'm humble enough to say, hey, friends and family, I need your help with this book.
Mhm.
I am this young 22-year-old who still is learning and still figuring out what I'm doing. Please help by purchasing a copy, by telling your friends, by reading, reviewing, all of the things. And so by leveraging the power of relationships and network, I was able to rank number one in Christian fantasy.
That's
And the
awesome.
great thing was, even though lots of them didn't necessarily fit my audience, many of them did know people that would fit my audience.
Mhm.
So, like some people at my church, at the time I was about to graduate from college, and I was going to this small church with mostly older people in College Station at A&M. And
Oh, that's not too far from me.
oh, nice. And so what I did was I promoted it to all the people there. Most of them I kind of had a relationship with, I was friends with. They're all like super great, older folks. And most of them ended up purchasing a copy of the book. I ended up having two launch parties, one in College Station, where a lot of them showed up, and that was really sweet. They wanted me to sign their copy and everything, which was
Yeah.
sweet. And the nice thing was a lot of them read the book and reviewed it, but they also were like, hey, I have a son or grandson or whoever that might enjoy this book, so I'm going to get them a copy as well. And that was really powerful because it's that word of mouth that is actually going to sell books.
Right.
I'm all for marketing through podcasts and through social media and blogs, websites, email, all the things. But really what's going to drive sales is word of mouth, is someone
Mhm.
saying, hey, I really like this book. I think you would too.
Right. The podcast, the blogs, the social media, that gets you in front of that first wave, but
Yeah.
then that first wave has to take it and push it forward after that. Yeah.
And so that's why one of the things that I do, I haven't pushed this a ton, but one of the things that I do and I plan on pushing more is anyone who purchases a copy for a friend, if they email me at my email, calebwardauthor@gmail.com, and just like a screenshot of the Amazon purchase and said, hey, I got this for a friend of mine, I will actually send them a short story.
I saw that
So
on your website. It's on your
it's
website right now,
almost like
isn't
an
it?
email list
Yeah.
thing where you have that lead magnet, except for this is with sharing it with a friend.
Yeah.
And so
I
it's
saw
like
that and I thought
actually,
that was brilliant.
it's actually like a pretty revealing short story about two of the main characters in the novel, the what happens with them, their fates. And I wasn't planning on revealing it, but I made it this huge thing so that I could start leveraging that power of relationships and marketing through word of mouth.
That that's really smart, and that takes a lot of, like, forward thinking too. So that's how did you approach doing that? Like, was that just, like, as you were going along crafting the story, you're like, "Ooh, I could take this and I could do this thing with it," or was it like, after you had already published it and you're like, "Okay, I think I was gonna hold off on this, but I think I wanna leverage it now." How did you go about
Well,
that?
so I had written the novel, and then there was the whole editing stage, which took 3 or 4 years because I didn't know what I was doing. And then there was
Did your publisher edit it then?
so I did a bunch of edits before I approached a publisher,
Got it,
but
okay.
yes, the publisher did have an editor.
Okay, so you're not
But
talking about
even
that edit, you're talking about, like, pre-editing with
so,
on your own with beta readers and all that whole yeah,
yeah, all of the
all of that.
process. So I did all of that, and then I got a publishing contract, did that. That's a whole 'nother story. Um, and then there was, like, a good 6 months of they had their editor and all of their, teams, and it was just sitting there. It For most of it, it didn't feel like anything was happening, but I'm sure at least something was happening
Right.
behind the scenes from the publisher's standpoint. And so during that time, I actually was, like, coming off of this huge, like, writing mindset. I was, churning out at, like, thousands of words a day. It was
Oh my gosh.
fantastic. And, I ended up writing, like, a short story, like a biblical fiction novella for an app during that time. And then I was writing some short stories that I knew I wanted to use in some sort of marketing capacity. So
Mhm.
I think I wrote 4 or 5 short stories. One I used for a lead magnet, one I used for what we just talked about, one I just released, recently as, like, a launch for my Substack, which I
Okay.
wasn't planning on using it for that, and then it just kinda worked out that way. And then
Okay.
one I still have and will use somewhere. I don't know where yet.
So you were, like, in the zone and you just started
Yeah.
creating. Okay,
When
makes
you're in the
sense.
zone, just take advantage of it.
Right, you gotta just take advantage of it. I s I still miss the days where I got into a zone, when I was commuting I used to live outside of Chicago, and I was commuting into Chicago, and so I was on the train for an hour a day, and because I was on the train, I could write, right? Because
Right.
what else am I gonna do on a train? And so every day, every morning and every afternoon for an hour, I had this, like, uninterrupted writing time, and I was, like, churning stuff out left and right, and I still look fondly back on those days, like, I wish I had that. Like, I didn't even know what gold I had at the moment, right? Like, that I could
You
just
just need
do
to go
that.
on some train rides now
Right.
just to go somewhere.
I wish. Um, so you started to kinda talk about your journey to, signing a book deal with this publisher. So can you tell us a little bit more about that decision-making process with who to go with, how to get this publishing deal? What did that look like for you?
Yeah. So, for me personally, I was kind of hesitant about, well, all of the different paths.
Right.
Kind of, I see it as like 4 different paths. You have traditional publishing, independent publishing, which is the smaller traditional publishers, hybrid, which is like similar, but you kind of have to pay for it,
Right.
and and just self-publishing where you just
Right.
publish.
And it gets confusing because people use different terms for different things. Like,
Right.
I've heard indie publishing for self-publishing, and I've heard, independent publishing for, like, a small publisher, so it gets very confusing. And then when you
Yes,
get
yes, it
people who
does.
are in the nonfiction world versus the fiction world, they all talk differently too, and you're like, "Oh my gosh, y'all are confusing me."
Right, which is why I just prefaced it with how I view the 4 different areas,
Mhm. Yeah,
because everyone has their own different,
they really
ways.
do.
But for those 4, I wasn't really interested in any of them. With traditional, I didn't really want another 3 to 4 years added on before my
Mhm.
story would finally be released after I'd been working on it for 4 or 5 years, and I would need an agent, and I would only get, like, 10% of the cut and all the stuff,
If
but
you're lucky.
right. But also on the other end, I didn't just wanna hit publish, where in self-publishing, it's like, yeah, you have to be the jack of all trades and master of all.
Yes, that
Yeah,
is
you're
very true.
expected to be the master of everything
Or you need
without
to
to
have the collateral to pay somebody to do it. Yeah,
pay a lot of money for the book cover and the
yeah.
editing and formatting and all of that stuff. And I never wanted to be the person that claimed to have all the knowledge and to be able to do everything myself. I'd rather work with people that know what they're talking about.
Yeah.
But on the other end, I didn't want to wait that long.
Right.
That was the main thing for me. Just I have 30 or 40 stories outlined in my on my notes app, and so I just want to start writing them,
Right.
and I didn't want to wait that long.
Right.
And so that was the big factor for me, but there were other aspects too. And so I decided to go with an independent publisher, small traditional publisher, where I didn't need an agent. It went faster. I did have to do all the marketing, but they handled everything else and I didn't have to pay for it.
Was there like a true submission acquisition side of things that happened?
Yeah, so I didn't go through an agent, but I did send in a proposal. I had like the query letter in the email and then the proposal attached. And then they read through it. I actually, first they said no. They said, this publisher said that we're not going to publish your novel and you're likely not going to get published anywhere else because the novel is way too short for a fantasy novel.
Okay.
It was around 40,000 words,
Oh
and
yeah, that is.
yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
that's short.
So
That's
I
like a
needed to
novella in the fantasy world, right?
so I basically needed to double the length of the novel.
Yeah.
Um, that was very discouraging and frustrating, but, God really worked through that. It was really powerful how it took, like, a week, and just spent time with God and did a lot of brainstorming for what I could do to expand the novel after I'd already been working on it for 4 or 5 years. I was exhausted with it, but suddenly I just had that creative,
Fresh
inspiration.
eyes. Yeah.
Yes, and God, I could just feel him breathing life into it again, and
That's
I
so cool.
was able to basically double the length of the novel within the span of, like, 2 or 3 months. Uh,
That's
like I
awesome.
said, after that, I was coming off of that, like, writing high,
Yeah.
and, so I did a lot of writing during 2 or 3 months and basically churned out half a novel and sent it back to my editor. She was amazed with how it worked out. And then I sent it to the same publisher and they liked it. And so they sent me a contract. And then I sat there for a couple months and then they went through their editor and they sent me a couple or two different designs for the book cover. I chose which one I liked. I think my book cover, I really like.
I like your book cover too. And you know, okay, so we both were at a conference recently. We were both there,
Yeah.
and his book was in the like conference bookstore. And I picked it up, and I was like, "Oh, I should buy this for the plane ride home." But my luggage was already at the max,
Maximum.
and I
That's
knew
funny.
if I took it, that book would now suddenly become a $35 book. And it wouldn't be going to you; it'd be going to United Airlines. So I'm like,
That's
I'll have to buy it when I get back home. But I picked it up because of the cover. I was like, "Wow, this is really spiffy." Like,
yeah,
it's a very, it draws you in.
yeah. And I'm very grateful for that because, like I said, I never want to pretend to be an expert in something I'm not in. And I have absolutely no eye for visual things. Like I'm not
Mhm.
a visual person at all. One thing that makes social media a bit of a challenge for me, especially Instagram. But because of that, I was like, I can give you a couple ideas, but please come up with something good because I have no
No
idea what
idea.
the cover should be.
It's just blank. It's just blank.
I literally was like, I texted the two different options to a bunch of people and friends and family, and I'm like, which one should I go with? Because I can't tell which one's better.
That's so funny. I love how honest you are. You're like, "This is not my wheelhouse. I need people to figure it out for me."
Yes.
That's very interesting. So, do you mind if I ask you what kind of royalty you did end up with?
Yeah. So I have 40%
Oh,
of
wow. Okay.
I keep mixing up revenue versus
Net
whatever the other.
profit.
Yeah, but it's I guess it's revenue because it's before all the publishing costs and everything.
Okay.
So it is a pretty good deal
Yeah, no,
for
that is
the world.
yeah, for the publishing world. Definitely, definitely. I was a little surprised by that.
Yeah.
That's really cool. Um, so you submitted, they accepted you, you went through editing, they gave you a cover. How long Now you said it released a month early, but how long did that whole publishing process take? Like that from acceptance to the time that it released?
I think I got the acceptance in, I want to say either May or March, and then the editing was finished by I think the end of November, and
Okay.
then the editing didn't really start till like the beginning of November or something. And then
Mm.
it was, and then the book basically was done, and it just kind of sat there until when it launched in January.
Okay. Okay. I mean, that's like a 9-month turnaround.
Yeah, pretty much.
That's that's impressive. That when you're comparing it against like, traditional
Right,
publishing model where it's like 2, 3 years from
right.
acceptance, that is really that is very intriguing. Um,
But I also didn't have a marketing team working with me to make sure that everything was perfectly marketed.
yeah, but you're not necessarily guaranteed with that with a traditional publisher either. It really depends on how marketable they think your book is and how many copies they think you're gonna be able to generate for them. So,
An
I don't
interesting world.
it is a very interesting world, and you're always like, "Hmm, what's it?" And I think that I I think I like talking about these conversations, like, I think we need to just be a little bit more honest amongst us writers, talking to writers with different experiences. I never wanna say, like, one way is better than another, but I want people to have the full picture so they can decide what's best for them. I think you
Right,
have some really valid reasons for going with a small traditional publisher, whereas, like, designing a cover it doesn't scare me, right? Like, I feel like I could probably pull it off. I mean, I have already
right,
one time. So, like, it doesn't scare me, but I can see if you're able to and I also was an editor, so, like,
right,
that side doesn't even scare me, right? But I can understand if you feel like that's not your wheelhouse, like you're saying, how you would want a team behind you
right,
and not having to put out the expense for it at the very beginning, at the front end. It can be really cost inhibitive. You didn't make that decision lightly. You really came at it from a very, like, wise and grounded perspective, not a, like, "I have to get it done this way in order for it to be a valid book." You were
right.
saying, like, "This is the process I need to go through in order to reach my reader." I wanna give writers permission to do the same for their books.
I
What
agree.
process do you need in order to reach your reader? And so I appreciate you being so honest and sharing all that with us. I wanna pivot a little bit because you mentioned your age a little bit ago. You're a younger author. Is this like you're trying to make this your full-time gig, or are you like you mentioned college, like, where are you at with things? And, um, share a little bit about that.
Well, so ever since I was little, I was creating stories in my head, and I'm a very avid reader. You might be able to tell from all the books behind me. But I
Yeah,
love
I'm, like,
reading.
trying to see them back there. I'm like, "Hmm, I think I recognize a few."
I love reading, and I always loved creating stories. I didn't have many friends growing up, so I was creating stories and characters in my head to. I know it sounds sad, but
No, no, no,
it
it
was
doesn't
fine
sound
for me. It
I
works
know
for me.
I I'm like, "No, I relate." Like, that's not sad at all. Like, I know what you mean.
Yeah.
So you kinda grew up with making these worlds in your head.
Right. But I never wanted to be an author because I was like, oh, authors don't make any money.
They don't,
Authors are never successful. It's too hard. And
right?
then I end up like writing a very short story, and then writing for like 6 or 7 hours and just like nonstop. And I was like, huh, dang it.
How old were you at when that happened?
I think I was in like ninth grade.
Okay.
And so I wrote some short stories and novellas, gradually getting longer, and then I decided to write a full length book, which ended up becoming Downfall, although it went through a lot of revisions as I was
Mhm.
learning how to write. Because really, for fiction, being able to tell a good story is essential.
It
You
really is.
have to be able to engage a reader and tell a story that is interesting and engaging, even more than like grammar or things like that. If you can tell a story that is engaging, then you will sell copies and people will love the book.
Yeah,
I
it
was
comes down
rereading.
oh, sorry. I was just gonna
Oh,
say it comes down to that, like, how are you utilizing the sentences to tell the story more
Yeah.
than this is how grammatically the sentence is supposed to
Right.
be.
I was rereading some of the books that I loved when I was younger, and I was like, "Oh, the writing isn't that great,
Isn't it
but it's
funny how
okay
that
because
works?
I
You're
love
like,
them." And they end up being successful, and so that
Mhm.
honestly was kind of encouraging for me.
Yeah.
But, so I started writing more, and, I realized that this is something I wanna do full time.
Mhm.
My goal is to write full time, to not have to rely on another job, but to be able to just churn out books and, of course, do all the marketing stuff, but, be able to be an author full time. However, I knew that that wasn't going to happen right away. I'm very practical minded. And so I was like, okay, I'll go to college, I'll get a degree in something non writing related, so that I can have a job that I can focus on and then write on the side until writing can eventually become my full time thing. And so with this first book, with the sequel that I finished the first draft for and I'm about to start editing, for all the marketing, all of this is for the goal of being able to write full time.
Okay. So you're in it for the long haul.
Definitely.
So what's your day job then? What did you go to
Uh,
school
I
for?
I work for a public charter school doing like some administrative stuff and some fundraising. Technically, my title is development specialist. Most people don't know what that means, though.
You're the fundraiser guy, right?
Basically,
Yep.
I'm doing
I
email
actually do
marketing
know what
stuff.
that is because I had a nonprofit at one point. So we always wanted that person. It was always hard to find them. Yeah.
Basically, I'm mostly just doing email marketing. Uh, I don't know when you're releasing this, but Giving Tuesday just happened for
Yeah.
us as recording, and that was a big day for us.
Yeah.
I'm glad it went successful, um, and so that's what I'm doing full time. What's interesting is normally like, okay, I'm doing marketing for my job, but what actually I was like, technically, I was marketing for my book before I started my job. And so
Mhm.
I've actually been able to apply some of that to my job. And then also I'm learning some skills for my job that I can apply to my book.
That's
That's been
awesome.
a nice thing
Yeah.
that working out.
So when do you think the tipping point would be where you could make this your full-time thing?
Well, currently my expenses are pretty low because I'm a single guy, but um,
I love the honesty. You're like, "This is what it is."
but I do very much want a family, and
Mhm.
so I would need to be able to support a family,
Yeah.
with just selling books, and so I'm not exactly sure what the prices would be, but I know that I'm certainly not there yet.
So you have a goal of one
Yes.
day making this be your full-time gig. And so let's go into the marketing piece a little bit. Like, what are some marketing things that you did because you weren't necessarily able to do like a true launch team, like with build up, right? So what are some of the marketing tactics that you used?
Yeah, so, I find it interesting that you said past tense used because with
True.
marketing and with a book, like a year later, if you want to sell copies, you have to market. You have to
You
keep
do.
doing it, and it's never it's almost a never ending process if you want to
Yeah.
keep
Right.
selling.
Right.
And so, not to correct you, I'm just saying that
No,
that's
no, I'm
something that
glad
we
that
have
you
to do.
pointed out. Yeah, I'm
That's
glad that you
something
pointed it out.
that all authors have to be aware of. If you want to keep selling books, you got to keep marketing. Uh,
Mhm.
Unfortunate, but that's how it is.
Right.
So there's of course, there's lots of different aspects, but there are kind of five main things that I focus on. First up, the simple one is the website. It needs to look good, update it with the most up to date information. Of course, have my own domain. I think that's very important. Do everything I can to make it SEO compatible so that it'll rank high in search engines.
Right.
Uh, so that's a big thing, but also something that doesn't need a lot of constant upkeep, which is nice.
Mhm.
The second thing for me is social media. So um, I know I'm a young guy, but I honestly hate social media so much. I was not on any social media platform until January 2021.
Okay.
I avoided it for as long as possible, and I'm like, "Ugh, if I'm gonna be an author, I guess I should do this." Because I know some people are like, "Oh, you don't need social media, you can still be successful with your book," but it's unlikely, and one of the biggest ways that you're going to be discovered is on social media because there are so many eyes on the different platforms,
Mhm.
and if you're not going to be on social media, you're missing out on a huge way that you could be discovered.
Right.
So for me, I use Facebook and Instagram. I'm not the type, I'm very much a quality over quantity person. I don't think that you should try to do every single platform out there because if you do, you're not going to get anywhere on any of the platforms. My
Mhm.
goal is to focus on one or two and do those successful, grow those. And then maybe once those are successful, then I can add in a third or a fourth.
Right.
And so I do that. Um, I was really skimping on social media and not focusing on it much just because I was like posting once a week or once every other week. And I'm like,
Mm.
I'm not getting any traction. Right.
Algorithm is not gonna be in your favor if you do that.
Right. But you're not, no one's going to see your post if you don't post.
Right, exactly.
And so a few months ago, I like just sat down and scheduled out 2.5 months worth of posts and had like three to 3 to 5 posts a week. And that was very nice because I could get that off my plate. Of course, I still have to interact and things like that.
Right. Mhm.
Uh, but I've got like a list of different ideas of what I can post about when I need something. So, like book recommendations, behind the scenes information, like, oh, I haven't done a behind the scenes information recently. Let me
Right.
post some info about a character or find a photo of something that kind of looks like a scene from my book and talk about that or
Mhm.
something along those lines. I do a lot of like questions where I will ask how I do it, how I like to do it, and how I've gotten engagement is I will post a question on um, social media asking, like, guess what was the hardest scene for me to write in my book, or guess what I like to listen to while I'm writing, or where
Mhm.
I write, or those kinds of things. And then everyone will guess what my answer will be. And then the next day, I post the response and I make sure to tag everyone in the comments who responded to the question the other day.
Oh,
I've
that's a good
gotten a lot
idea.
of great engagement on that, but other types of questions where you're asking the audience questions or where you're just responding to questions. Those are all great content ideas. So I kind of have a list of different content that I can use, and then I just sit down and schedule out a bunch of posts. And
Okay.
that's a big area of marketing for me that I'm pushing. The next one is email lists, of course.
Mhm.
Uh,
You had mentioned
and
you had mentioned Substack. Is that what you're considering your email?
so that's a recent development.
Yeah, that's why I'm asking you because this is
Yeah,
like I am seeing this pop up everywhere and I'm
yeah,
kinda a little skeptical a little bit.
that's fair. That's
And
fair.
so I'm just like curious to know like if you are considering it your email or are you considering it like another product that you can put behind a
Right.
paywall, sorry.
So for me personally, I had heard of Substack, but wasn't really interested in it because, like I said, I'm very much quality over quantity.
Right.
I didn't just want to start a new thing just for the sake of starting it.
Mhm.
But I got advice from a marketing expert at that conference you mentioned, and I talked with him for a while, and he suggested for specifically where I'm at, writing fiction and having a relatively small email list that I think the word he used was it's a no brainer.
Right.
The nice thing about Substack is there is the paywall if you want it, but there's also the free one. So you can have both going at the same time if you want.
Okay.
I'm currently not using the paid one, but once I get a bigger audience, I'll certainly consider it. You can have it's specifically for like newsletters, or almost like news articles.
Right.
So it's kind of like a mix between an email list and a blog, is how I see it.
So
I
does it
was
get sent
running,
out as an email as well as being on the blog
yes,
platform? Okay. Alright, that
yes.
makes sense.
So the nice thing is that it really is like a blog where you can post on the blog, but it's also being sent out as an email in a very email friendly way.
Mhm.
The unfortunate thing is it's less customizable, so you can't like make it look like this beautiful email,
Right.
but you can do some stuff. You can add your header, things like that. You can add pictures.
Okay.
And so, what I did was I had a blog that I was occasionally posting a few short stories on and some book recommendations, but hadn't really touched in a while. And I had an email list on MailChimp, which I personally didn't like.
Yeah.
I wasn't a fan of the platform, and I was on the free version where you couldn't schedule out emails, which
Right.
was annoying. And I spent months without sending an email. It's
Because it was yeah. I think that's the one thing that oftentimes, like, because for some of us, when especially when we're starting out, we're like, "I really don't have a large chunk of money to put towards this." Like, I kinda have to do things very on the frugal side.
right.
Then sometimes these things, like, work against us, and it's like so then you're having to decide, "Okay, what either I need to go find a new tool or I need to put
Right.
money behind it because just this isn't helping. This is
It's
just
not working.
it's just not working." Yeah.
Yeah. And so, I decided to combine my blog, which was the third or fourth, or I've lost track of where I was in that list of different areas that I market. I decided to combine my blog and my email list into one thing on Substack, which is, like you mentioned, a bit skeptical, a bit controversial,
Mhm.
because it is a newer platform. And saying it's your email list is a little different from what a traditional email list is,
Right.
but it really is you're sending out these emails, and
So can
you
you
can just also find it on in a blog format on their website.
True. So, 2 questions for you, and then we can move on to your 5th one your 5th thing that you're
Okay.
focusing on. But, are you able to, like, export those email names
Yeah.
out like, you own that
Yes.
CVS file or
Yep.
whatever they export it into? Okay, and then the other
That's the
question.
next.
Huh?
So that's one of the things that I think really does make it an email list,
Right.
because you can input the names, you can export it. It is your list of emails, even if it's on a specific platform.
Are you able to target people? Like, are you
Yes.
able to segment people and target certain segments,
It's
tag
a little more
people?
complicated, but yes,
Okay.
you can like basically create different newsletters within your platform website
Mhm.
uh, that goes to specific people. And you can also create a post that you don't want to be sent out as an email, which is kind of nice. Um,
Okay.
the other thing that's nice is you've got this backlog of emails and of blog posts. You can very easily import those into the platform, and it's all formatted correctly. I was actually really surprised. All I had to do was put a link to my blog into Substack, and it automatically transferred all of my blog posts
They, like,
onto it.
created a feed,
Yeah.
almost, like, connected up.
Yeah.
That's cool. Um What I would be most interested in knowing is, like, are you still getting the SEO? Uh,
For the
you know what I mean? Like,
for the
your blog
website.
on your website. So I guess if it's funneling it onto your
Right.
website and populating there, you should be getting it, but that's just an interesting,
Right.
like, back end question that like,
Yeah.
you're wondering, like,
So
okay, the whole point of having a blog on your website is to
right.
generate keywords that
Right.
can rank on Google, and so if we're putting those keywords on Substack, are we getting that same power behind it? I'm not sure. I don't know
So
if you know.
that was one of the big reasons I didn't want to move to Substack, because of that whole SEO, keyword ranking, all of that. But I was also like, okay, I'm not really posting on this blog anyways,
True.
so I might as well. I don't think that it helps with SEO in that regard. However, you
Okay.
can add on your little you kind of have your own domain. It's almost like you have your own website on Substack, although
Mm,
I wouldn't recommend using it as your website
yeah, because
because
it's a
it's
little clunky. It's a
yeah.
little clunky, yeah.
But either way, you can like add on in that header section, you can add a link to your website, which does help which does add another backlink back to your site, which is helpful for SEO. Um,
Yeah.
and you can add links and things like that, or almost like you could post short snippets of the full um, blog post that you did on Substack on your website with links to it, or vice versa. If you
Okay.
really want to drive home that content and that SEO aspect. So there are
Mhm.
ways of working around it. But for me, it was just I was trying to do all the things and I needed to consolidate something, and Substack happened to work as a good blog and email list for me.
Well, thank you for going into that because, like I said, I was like, "What is this thing? Is this just a new fad?" You know? And
I was
you
very
always kinda
skeptical.
have to do that, like, "Is this really worth my time and energy to go invest in a new thing?" But in your case, it sounds like it actually simplifies things for you by doing it. So
For me personally, yes.
yeah, that's a good point. So what's your 5th thing that you're focusing on as far as
The
marketing
fifth
goes?
thing is any sort of speaking engagement that I can do. I think conversations with people, whether it be on in a guest blog post or in a podcast or in some sort of live speaking engagement. I think that those are fantastic. And if it's a live speaking engagement, make sure to bring copies of your book with you, because you
Right.
can always put sales that way, and everyone's going to walk out and not remember your name. But if you can bring
But I'll
books
have
with
your
you,
book.
or if you can, what I also have is a stack of downfall themed bookmarks with my name on it and
Okay,
everything.
that's
So I
cool.
usually hand those out at speaking events. But I think that that's a really important way for new people to discover you. Of course, if they can be in your ideal reader, even more fantastic. If
Mhm.
they fit that audience, then getting in front of them through um, a podcast or a live speaking event is fantastic. I've gotten to speak in a couple different schools, including A&M, which was a really fun one. And my little sister's, well, technically it's a K through 12 school. I spoke to the high school, and then several podcasts, and then that writing conference that
Okay.
you mentioned. I got to do a little 3-minute blurb.
Okay, I wanna pivot a little bit
Yes,
to this conversation about your book is in the Christian fantasy realm. It is you have written it as a Christian now, does it mention God specifically, or is it just got symbolism like a C.S. Lewis type situation, or is it, like, actually mention God?
it's very much Christian and
Okay.
mentioned God a lot. The difficult thing about fantasy is that, it's on this whole nother world. And so if you're writing
Yes.
Christian fantasy, then you have to like create your whole Bible and all of that. And one of the ways I
And it's
got
a little
around
bit it's always a little, like
right,
you're like, "I don't wanna be, like, heretical, but
right,
I also have this world in my mind, and I want God to be
right,
the God of it."
right.
Right.
So it's tricky. A lot of what I did for this first book was I tried to make it easy on myself with a few changes, and like there's I won't spoil anything, but there's a pretty surprising twist that happens with the villain, and the only reason I did that twist was because I didn't know what to do with the villain at that point, so I just went with this twist, and I added some stuff later, but I'm just going to make it easy on myself. And the other thing I did was I made um, all the people in this world to be originally from Earth, and they just like
Okay.
traveled to the world Novitas. And so because of that, they have Jesus and God and the Bible and all of those things. I didn't have
Okay.
to create my own religion. I
Got it.
have I'm excited about a future series that it's going to be like this very complicated world with history, and I'm basically going to write its own Bible. I'm excited about that.
You're going like the
But
Tolkien route, huh?
yes, I will go the Tolkien route for one of my future series that's going to be like 12 to 16 books long. but
With maps and languages
yes,
and all the things, right?
maybe not languages, but something like that. And I'm really excited about that series, but I'm also like, I'm not ready for it yet, and that's okay. It's going to happen, but not yet. But also that whole aspect of them coming from Earth is an
Mhm.
interesting storyline, and I'll get to play around with that in future books. But that's one thing I did um, that allowed me to make it more Christian in a way.
Yeah.
But honestly, I never considered not making my books Christian. Um,
Okay.
one, because my faith is
A
all
huge
that I
part
am.
of you.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Um, my my goal in life, my whole reason for being is to glorify God
Right.
and to become more Christ-like. And so, disconnecting my faith from a huge thing that I'm doing just feels very inauthentic for me.
Mhm.
But also, I believe that my stories should make an impact, should transform lives. And I believe that the characters should grow. As you connect with characters and feel close to them because you can relate to them in some way through some personality trait or history, or even just we all deal with suffering. We all
Right.
deal with this broken world around us.
Mhm.
And and so when we can connect with characters on a deep level, and then that character goes through these trials and struggles, and they end up growing and transforming into a better version of themselves. If they're Christian, they're becoming more like God, more Christ like, that kind of thing. And then the character or the reader experiences that journey with them,
Mm.
then that inspires them and encourages them to grow as well.
Right.
So I believe that in Christian fantasy specifically, or all Christian novels specifically, that we have the opportunity to help people grow and
Mm.
help people pursue God and become more passionate about God. And so
Mhm.
that is one of the things that I believe that my stories are meant to do,
Mm.
to inspire transformation and inspire my readers to be more Christ-like.
Mm.
And I just can't disconnect that from God.
So,
And
I mean, and that's kind of a I mean, that's a business decision too,
yeah,
right? Like, it's a personal decision, it's a a decision of craft even, but then it's also a business decision because you're narrowing down your audience is what you're doing. And so
it's
consequently
yeah,
have less sales. And so
right.
you kind of have to be okay with that.
Yeah. But from a from the business perspective, um, one thing I like to say is that while I'm writing, my imagination as a creator connects with God's imagination as the creator. And
Mm,
so basically, all the mediocre parts in my book, that's my doing, and all the good parts is where God inspired it and God wrote it for me. And
yeah,
so to disconnect my writing from God just means all the mediocre stuff, and that's not going to sell well.
that's true. That's true. I love that idea of like engaging with the creative parts. I agree. I think we're stewards of the creativity that he's given us. I think that it's a huge responsibility and that we're supposed to be very
Absolutely.
obedient to it. I think that if we look at what's happening in the publishing industry today with just how complicated things have gotten and how such the whole marketing aspect and having to build these big platforms and all the different, you know, publishers buying up publishers and all the crazy that's happening. I think what we can see happening is that the enemy attacking story and attacking writers, stewarding the creativity that God has given them. It's a powerful thing. It's a powerful thing that we've been entrusted with, and we have to steward it well. And so I love the intentionality that you bring to what you're doing, how you're doing it, who you're meeting with, that work that you're doing, and the transformation that you're hoping that they'll encounter and experience because they're encountering your work and engaging with it. So I really do appreciate that. Before we wrap up, what advice do you have for that author out there who is navigating the world of writing their novel and building their platform and all the business decisions? And should I go traditional? Should I self publish? Should I do an independent publisher? What advice do you have for that individual?
Yeah, my biggest piece of advice is an encouragement. So, yes, writing and publishing is very difficult.
Hmm.
First, you're writing, and that presents its own challenges, and then you're editing and revising, which is a whole nother can of
Whole nother.
worms.
Yep.
And then you're trying to get someone to purchase the novel or and publish it. And then the whole marketing thing where you're basically just throwing out books, begging people to buy it. It
Right.
feels like sometimes. And there's just so much involved, and it can be exhausting and draining and frustrating. And it can feel like every single step is impossible.
Hmm.
But my encouragement is that if I can do it, you can too.
Right.
I'm this I know I'm on a podcast and talking a lot, but I'm like this quiet introvert who doesn't like being around people. I would love to just be under my covers right now, reading a book with my headlamp on so that I can see the words. Um, I'm not very passionate or excited. I'm very methodical and slow, and I don't want to start something unless I can finish it. And I'm I'm only 22. I was in college and going through all this chaos, and God was teaching me all these things, and I had so much other things going on. And yet, if I can publish a novel, if I can rank number one in Christian fantasy, if I can be even relatively successful in this first book and be working on a second book, then you can too, because I'm not some exception or special case. All I did was work hard.
Mm-hmm.
All I did was keep going. And even when I got that rejection, I just started the revision process, and I just started rewriting and finding people that knew more than me that I could learn from, that could better equip me, and teaching others at one step behind me, which helped me take a step and them take a step. All I did was just keep going despite all the challenges, because it feels sometimes like every step is going to be another and bigger challenge.
Mm-hmm.
But if I can keep going and be even relatively successful, then you can too. And that is the encouragement I want to leave your listeners with, because as impossible as it might feel, if you keep going and keep learning, keep writing, keep marketing, then you can do it.
Such wise words. Thank you for sharing that encouragement with us. I appreciate it. And I know our listeners will appreciate it too. Well, can you tell us what I know you mentioned you're working on book 2. So
Yeah.
when do we know when that's gonna release? Do we have an idea?
Um, I hope sometime this next year. I'll probably go with the same publisher, but I don't even have a contract yet or anything.
Okay. All right. So
Um,
you have to get
I
that part done.
I finished the first draft, and then my mindset is first draft, you just get the words out. So I
Mm.
have some revisions to do. I was setting it aside for a couple months so that to let it breathe so I could come back at it with fresh eyes. So I'll do all of that, and then I'll send in a proposal. If they accept me, then there's their whole process. So
Right.
my hope is sometime in 2023, but if not, definitely 2024.
All right. So in the meantime, where can we hang out with you on the internet?
Yeah. So the hub for all of my stuff is my website, calebwardauthor.com. My social media links are on there. My Substack, all my book, all my short stories, blog, all of the things are there. But pretty much for all of my Facebook, Instagram, Substack, website, all of the things is Caleb Ward Author. So if
Okay.
you just type Caleb Ward Author into somewhere, you'll probably find me.
Just type it in. You'll probably get
Yeah,
him.
yeah, you'll find me somewhere.
Awesome.
But yes, my book is Downfall.
Yeah. Fold it up for us to
Downfall.
see.
You can find it on Amazon, or on my website.
Yeah.
And I would love to connect with you on Facebook or Instagram, or even just text or email. I'd love to hear from you and connect with more authors and readers.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today, Caleb. I really, really appreciate it.
Thank you. I had fun.
And thank you for joining us today for this episode of the podcast. Join us next week as we continue the conversation about the business of Christian fiction. Bye.